This was a well-orchestrated, well-coordinated, malicious and vicious prosecution.
Felony convictions upheld against a Portsmouth councilman. That is our top story at 6. Good evening, I'm Regina Mobley.
And I'm David Allen. Councilman Mark Whitaker is about to become a convicted felon. Today, a judge affirmed guilty verdicts on 3 forgery charges, which a jury handed down in July.
The judge also approved the jury's sentencing recommendation of a $2,500 fine for each count.
13 News Now investigative reporter Laura Geller joins us now with more. Laura.
Well, guys, Councilman Mark Whitaker tells us there was no forgery in this case, but a jury of his peers and a judge now disagree. Now, Whitaker waits for the paperwork, which will make the convictions official. Councilman Mark Whitaker's family has stood by him throughout this entire trial.
I stand here honored to be in a tradition of those who have been wrongfully convicted.
They stayed by his side as he addressed reporters after the judge sentenced him on 3 forgery charges.
That's what our history shows. Whenever black men like myself stand out like we do, we become a threat. And this is not unusual.
These charges involve the credit union for Whitaker's church and a development project the church wanted to pursue. In July, a jury decided Whitaker forged a contractor's signature on financial documents. As soon as the order affirming those verdicts is signed and entered in court, the conviction is official. State law says Whitaker would automatically be suspended from his city council seat when that happens. The councilman told reporters he still plans to be at the next council meeting.
I will continue to serve in my capacity as long as it is legal for me to do so.
State law says a convicted felon can't run for office, but Whitaker's attorney tells me there is still a way the councilman can run for re-election in just a few weeks.
He is eligible to have his civil rights restored immediately, which means he is eligible to be elected to office.
There's no word on how long the restoration of civil rights process will take and if it will be complete before Election Day. Whitaker tells me he also intends to appeal his conviction. Laura Geller, 13 News Now.
Let's switch gears and take you live to the Virginia Beach oceanfront. It is the place to be in this hot and humid weather.
But we're tracking a big change on the way, and it could feel it as soon as your ride to work in the morning is when you'd feel it. Tomorrow morning, of course, Chief Meteorologist Jeff Lawson is tracking what's moving in right now.
Yeah, people will feel it even maybe as early as the overnight shift.
Okay.
Not just the morning drive time, but if you're heading out, around midnight or so, you might feel it as well. Skyview right now showing the conditions again, generally clear across the region. As we take a look at the radar, though, you'll see it's a different story out in the western parts of the state. You can see a lot of showers and storms moving into the western areas of Virginia, parts of central Virginia as well. And eventually some of this is going to move toward us. This entire shaded area is a watch. That simply means watch out, watch TV. There could be something that comes down in terms of some strong storminess later on. Once you get a storm, you get warnings, and we had one earlier up here near Fairfax County on out to the west over near Gainesville. That has been allowed to expire. Still a very strong storm, but not severe. And then out here near Culpeper and down toward Hartwood, just north of Spotsylvania County, another warning for an actual severe storm. While these are just very, very strong storms, not quite severe. The winds are not yet up to 60 miles per hour, or the hail is not 1 inch in diameter. It is going to take a long time for all of that to get to Hampton Roads. So eventually we replace these clear skies with some storminess, but that's not until the overnight. I'll have a big impact in terms of the cold front and the amount it drops the temperatures when I return.
Jeff, thanks. Join the thousands of 13 News Now viewers using our app to get real-time updates. Download it for free from your app store.
All new at 6 o'clock, a man is accused of threatening to bomb the Newport News courthouse. Investigators say it was back in June when Daquan Burrell phoned in the threat the same day he had a court hearing. The courthouse was evacuated, but nothing was found. Burrell faces felony charges tonight. He is the MMA fighter who went on the record with 13 News Now to say he did not expose himself at a busy shopping center. Now Imani Smith is defending himself in a Virginia Beach courtroom. 13 News Now reporter Stephen Graves was in court as the judge decided Smith's fate.
Emotions high as family of Imani Smith stands strong in defense, confident that even after a judge's guilty ruling...
No, I understand. I understand the media, but he's innocent.
The MMA fighter putting up a fight of his own in court against 10 charges in all of exposing himself and simulating masturbation in front of women. Each incident happening earlier this year at Lansdowne Common Shopping Center in Virginia Beach. During the hours-long hearing, each of the 6 women identified Smith as the one who would in some cases ask for directions to a restaurant, then expose himself in a car. Others say they were shopping or sitting in their car when Smith would strike up conversation, then casually commit the crime. Some women said they even took pictures of the car Smith was driving. That's how police say they nailed down a license plate that connected the vehicle to Smith. But his attorney argues that her client was in other places when the acts happened, and the victim's descriptions of the suspect vary, posing a reason for doubt. Your client was sentenced. Do you think it was fair?
No comment.
Smith was ultimately sentenced to 3 years in jail. The judge said evidence was compelling in every woman's case. Before being sentenced, he told family to make sure his real story was told. Stephen Graves, 13 News Now.
Chilling call for help from the Seaford fishing boat.
One of the crew members went crazy, and he started hitting people in the head with a hammer. I got 3 men that's injured right now. One, I can't wake him up. I don't know if he's dead or not, but I got the man that's on top he's on the rigging. Right now he's on the rigging. Now he's already cut the antennas or something off.
That distress call came from Captain Billy Haver. Franklin Freddie Meave Jr. is accused of using a hammer and a knife to attack the crew while off the coast of Nantucket Sunday. 1 person died. We've learned Meave is an illegal immigrant from Mexico. He was charged with domestic assault early this year. An immigration judge granted him bond in April, and ICE had to release him from custody. They tell us Meave's immigration case is ongoing.
There's now an easier way to get to the beach at King Lincoln Park in southeast Newport News. The city just opened a boardwalk at the park. It is part of the money HUD gave Newport News. The project was selected by residents to help transform their community.
They're making improvement. I guess they'll get there. So, but they seem to be working on it, update something.
HUD set aside a $100,000 grant for these projects.